The story follows a badass protagonist, codenamed Cian, who was raised and rigorously trained in the ominous dead mansion by a mysterious, alluring nun and a haughty pastor. Cian was meant to be dispatched to Japan for his missions, but due to a fateful error, he was sent to Korea instead. Despite being the most skilled and efficient assassin, outclassing all other trainees, Cian now leads a seemingly normal life in Korea. However, the calm is about to shatter, and his life is about to take a turn for the extraordinary. The story begins with the appearance of a wealthy, grotesque man, puffing on a cigar. A small girl sobbed softly as a strikingly beautiful nun gently comforted her. The man, his voice gravelly and commanding, announced that he would be taking on the role of a father, selecting a boy from the group of children. These weren't ordinary children. They were raised and trained from a young age to become assassins. As soon as the man left the mansion, the atmosphere shifted. The nun's soothing demeanor vanished, replaced by a cold, steely resolve. The pretense dropped, and she commanded the children to prepare for training. Instantly, the children's eyes sharpened, and they reached for their weapons, moving with the precision of trained killers. The nun approached Ellie, the little girl who had been crying moments before. With a stern, no-nonsense tone, she told Ellie that her parents might despise her because her nose always ran when she cried. "Be careful next time," the nun warned, her words heavy with unspoken lessons. Ellie absorbed the harsh advice, realizing everything. Meanwhile, from a distance, the snobbish pastor observed the scene through a window, a twisted smile of amusement playing on his lips. He believed the children were far from ordinary. They were cultivated weapons, expensive and meticulously nurtured from childhood to serve a purpose. They weren't trained in any ordinary church. This was a place of brutal discipline, led by a figure with a body chiseled from muscle. The children were beaten, hardened, and shaped into tools of death. A question comes up: why are they being trained, and what will they be used for? He replied to it and told that the children are computers, whose futures were determined by the buyers, their so-called parents. Then the scene comes up from the same fat, wealthy man and his purchased son from earlier. He shows the kid the photo and tells him that it is the target of his. These children are menace, and so they were brainwashed, and 3 absolute rule was imprinted into them. They are to follow this rule absolutely. They were shown video where the pastor explains that the principles are designed to control the children's. And it's crucial to remember the principle. We go back to the boy who was examining the target. From rear mirror, he could see that the car was following them. Old Pig didn't listen to him and told us to focus in the photo. The first rule of the 3 absolute rule was that the parent's words are the absolute, so he follows his parent word. The car stroked the man's car, and it crashes. Old Piggy died, but the kid survives without any reaction. The second rule was that they can't use their power without the command from their parents. The boy finds that his father is dead, lying on critical condition. On the other hand, 2 assassins went out to check man was dead or not. They find the kid acting like real injured, screaming and crying in pain and asking for help. They tries to be not entirely ruthless, were unsure what to do. One of the 2 assassins coldly suggested eliminating the child to get rid of any potential threat. However, the child, seemingly vulnerable, recalled the third and final absolute principle ingrained in them. If the life of a parent is at risk, all previous rules can be disregarded, and one may act independently. With this in mind, the child decided to take matters into their own hands, prepared to defend against any danger, even if it meant going against everything they had been taught. By remembering those words, he stabbed the assassin in his neck with his weapon, and he took the gun from him and sued the another assassin from there. The pastor asks, "Aren't they such good children?" He acts like a real pastor with a soothing voice, looking innocent and kind. But his smile reveals his ruthlessness, adorned with luxurious gems and golden dentures. He shows a pamphlet of the children and asks the readers again, "What do you think? Would you like to make a purchase?" The pastor remembers one child is their only blemish. This boy had the highest abilities among all the children and was truly leader. This voice, someone from the earlier, has disappeared. The posture was very fond of him, and he looked soured and gives a smuggy expression. Without his parents, The boy couldn't use his power and wouldn't draw any attention. The pastor assumed he was living as an ordinary child somewhere, maybe even dead, as this happened years ago. And there he was, walking and acting like a normal student, when suddenly someone punched him in the gut. It turns out he was being bullied. The bully's name was Joseph, and he was tormenting our boy, Hyung-ho. Joseph didn't know how strong or weak Hyung-ho really was. Hyung-ho was pretending to be reckless, to seem weak, and wasn't fighting back. All the bullies were making fun of him, torturing him, beating him up. One of Joseph's crew, Cheyenne, pushed Joseph aside and stepped forward. He punched Hyung-ho and sneered, asking him how much his punch was worth. Hyung-ho surprises everyone by telling them fuck off. Cheyenne looks out to other and calls out to Joseph, saying, "This guy must be malfunctioning." He knows deep down that he can take them all on and beat them easily. Joseph, taken aback, approaches him and questions why he's suddenly acting this way. This surprises Cheyenne even more. Joseph gets very close, then suddenly slaps Cheyenne hard, saying, "Don't act so cocky. Wasn't I already hitting him?" Cheyenne clenches his fist, trying to make excuses, claiming the slap was worth a solid 150,000 points. He's visibly scared of Joseph. However, Joseph just smirks and mocks him, telling Cheyenne he should go buy some cigarettes later. Then, Joseph walks away with his so-called friends. As the group leaves, Cheyenne swears under his breath that he'll definitely get back at Joseph next time. Yet, he can't help but admit that Joseph is cool, especially when he speaks with an American accent. On the other hand, Hyung-ho looks at Cheyenne and sees how pathetic he is, knowing he could easily beat him up out of anger and embarrassment. But Cheyenne, unable to accept the earlier humiliation, grabs Hyung-ho in a headlock, his expression full of anger. He tells Hyung-ho he's dead today for real. However, instead of fighting, they end up going to a restaurant where Hyung-ho treats Cheyenne to food. Cheyenne is out of money after running errands for Joseph's group, and he feels awkward about the situation. He starts to intimidate Hyung-ho, questioning if he thinks he's wasting money on Joseph's group. As they continue to eat, Cheyenne suddenly notices the name of the place, Hyung-ho's Snack Shop. Surprised by the coincidence, Cheyenne remarks on it. Hyung-ho then reveals that it's his mom's shop, and just as he finishes speaking, Hyung-ho's mother appears with a warm smile, serving them food. She's a sweet, hospitable old lady who mistakes Cheyenne for Hyung-ho's friend, offering them fish cakes on the house. With a calm demeanor, Cheyenne asks if Hyung-ho knew his mom owned the shop, understanding now why it's named after him. Hyung-ho silently confirms it, growing anxious as he realizes Cheyenne has discovered his connection to the shop, which he had managed to keep hidden until now. Cheyenne's face takes on a fiendish look, his voice laced with amusement as he says, "Is that so?" implying he knows more than he's letting on. Hyung-ho starts to worry, wondering what Cheyenne might do to his mother, and prepares to defend her by discreetly pulling out a pen. But then Cheyenne does something unexpected. He calls Hyung-ho's mom Annie, and instead of causing trouble, bows down and apologizes. He introduces himself as Hyung-ho's friend, Park Cheyenne, expressing regret for not meeting her sooner. With a smile, he admits he didn't realize it was their shop and finds it unique. Hyung-ho is left confused, dumbfounded by what he's hearing. His mother, on the other hand, is pleased by Cheyenne's words, mentioning that her son always tells her not to make their connection too obvious. She smiles warmly and comments that it's not good for her to work so hard, a sentiment that leaves Hyung-ho feeling both relieved and unsettled. Hyung-ho wasn't sure of Cheyenne's intentions, knowing he was a bully, but even Cheyenne seemed taken aback by what Hyung-ho's mother said. Quickly, Hyung-ho told his mom that they needed to leave right away, mentioning that their friends were waiting. With a bright smile, his kind mother began packing snacks for Hyung-ho and his friends, asking how many were waiting so she could prepare enough for all of them. Hyung-ho was surprised and tried to stop her, insisting she didn't need to do that. On the other hand, Cheyenne was delighted at the free snacks. The sweet old lady insisted it was no trouble, explaining that she didn't have many customers today. Cheyenne, still pleased, asked if she was sure about giving away so much food. The old lady reassured him, smiling warmly, and said, "My son's friends are like my children." Cheyenne agreed with her sentiment, But Hyung-ho was growing increasingly anxious, worried about his mother. Shine's face took on a sinister grin as he replied, "We'll enjoy our meal." Desperate, Hyung-ho pleaded with Shine not to tell Joseph or anyone else about their shop, asking him for a favor. Shine smiled and assured Hyung-ho he would handle it. He bid farewell to the sweet old lady, who even suggested he bring his friends next time. Reluctantly, Hyung-ho agreed, shocked at himself for doing so. After Cheyenne left, Hyung-ho and his mother had a conversation. Frustrated and anxious, Hyung-ho exclaimed, "I told you not to act like you know me. I told you." His mother, still smiling, was unaware of the danger looming over them, her kind actions having unintentionally complicated Hyung-ho's efforts to keep his identity and their connection a secret. "Why are you doing this?" Hyung-ho screamed, his voice filled with panic, eyes wide with fear. He couldn't understand why he was yelling at his mom, why she was apologizing. The sweet old lady only wanted him to be happy, overjoyed to see him with a friend for the first time. She apologized softly, saying she just wanted him to get along with his friends. Such a poor, sweet old lady, so apologetic to her son. But that wasn't what Hyung-ho wanted. He felt pathetic, disgusted with himself. A few days later, his worst fears came true. Despite Shine's promise, Joseph and his group showed up, bullying him in the classroom. Joseph harassed Hyung-ho relentlessly, even threatening him over the food. With an evil expression, he dampened a rag and shoved it onto Hyung-ho's face, sneering as he asked if he could get a refund. Joseph suggested they go to his mom instead, claiming he was also one of her son's friends. He continued mocking Hyung-ho, questioning why they were friends with a malevolent look towering over him. "We're friends, right? We should get along." "It was just a joke," Joseph said, before cruelly pouring all the food onto Hyung-ho's face. Hyung-ho was paralyzed, unsure of what to do. His fists clenched around the pan in his hand, the words of his mother echoing in his mind. She just wanted him to get along with his friends. In a moment of desperation and rage, Hyung-ho snapped. He lunged at Joseph, trying to stab him with the pan, aiming for his neck. Fear and despair contorted his face as he realized what he was doing. Joseph, furious and shocked, shouted, "What the hell are you trying to do, man?" At that moment, Shine arrived at the scene. The room was eerily silent, the tension thick in the air. 2 policemen were already there, surveying the damage. The window was shattered, and blood was smeared across the broken glass. On the floor, Hyung-ho's blood and eyeglasses lay scattered, a grim testament to the violence that had occurred. It was clear that Joseph had beaten Hyung-ho severely, likely throwing him out of the window in his rage. Hyung-ho had endured continuous beatings from Joseph for about 15 minutes, passing out from the pain only to regain consciousness and apologize each time. The violence persisted without anyone stepping in, until Hyung-ho, driven to his breaking point, took matters into his own hands. Joseph and his gang huddled together, discussing their next move. Joseph proposed a plan to frame one of their friends for what happened to Hyung-ho. Despite their fears and protests that they hadn't done anything, Joseph was adamant. He pointed out that a favorable juvenile law in Korea wouldn't apply to him, as he had been held back. He showed them a form, explaining that their friend would take the blame if they turned themselves in and claimed they had pushed Hyung-ho. One of Joseph's friends was visibly scared, worried about potential lawsuits. Joseph reassured him, noting that no one had been sued yet and suggesting there was a way around it. He emphasized their protection under the juvenile law, showing them a case full of money and offering each person 10 million won to participate. Finally, he revealed his plan to locate Hyung-ho's residence. Meanwhile, Hyung-ho's mother, the sweet old lady, was devastated. Tears streamed down her face as she struggled with the gravity of her son's situation. As night fell, Joseph's group made their way to Hyung-ho's place. They noticed that the elevator from the 5th floor wasn't coming down. Ignoring it, Joseph led the group to the stairs. When they reached the 5th floor, they discovered that a fire extinguisher was blocking the elevator door. As Joseph's group reached the stairs, they found Cheyenne waiting for them, clearly annoyed. "Why are you late?" Cheyenne demanded, revealing he had been there all along. Joseph was taken aback, confused as to why Cheyenne was there and why he hadn't been part of their plan. Cheyenne, standing with a firm stance, cut straight to the point with two questions. First, he asked, "How did you find out about Hyung-ho's snack shop?" It was supposed to be a secret. It quickly became apparent that Cheyenne hadn't leaked the information. Instead, he was part of Joseph's group. Joseph, slightly irritated, revealed his curiosity about why Cheyenne hadn't brought cigarettes, but instead brought a lot of food for the children. They followed Cheyenne and discovered Hyung-ho and his mother's hidden restaurant, a place they hadn't known about. They saw Hyung-ho arguing with his mother in front of the shop, which had inadvertently revealed their location. Cheyenne, feeling guilty, realized that their presence was due to him. He then carefully asked his second question, "What are you guys doing here?" Joseph, holding a metal pipe and speaking casually, responded, "We're here to see Hyung-ho's mom." It's perfect timing. He expressed his irritation, saying, "I've been annoyed with you pretending to bully him while actually helping him instead. You saved Hyung-ho and only lightly punched him to protect him." Cheyenne, furious and feeling deceived, readied his weapon to strike. However, he acted first, grabbing the fire extinguisher and using it to create a cloud of smoke, blinding everyone in the room. Joseph commanded his friends to seize Cheyenne, but Cheyenne hurled the fire extinguisher, knocking both Joseph and one of his gang members off balance. Cheyenne, proving stronger than anyone else present, quickly assessed the situation. While Joseph was distracted, Cheyenne attempted an attack, but Joseph blocked the blow. Cheyenne then focused on Joseph's feet, landing powerful strikes. Joseph screamed in agony as he felt his metatarsal bones break. Cheyenne, trained as an assassin since childhood, recognized the severity of the injury and knew Joseph wouldn't be walking anytime soon. In intense pain, Joseph demanded to know why Cheyenne was attacking him. Cheyenne's voice carried a mix of anger and revelation. He revealed a shocking twist. Hyung-ho was not the real main character of the series. Instead, Cheyenne was the lost boy, a trained assassin from childhood. Cheyenne shared the three principles that had been imprinted on him. Parents' words are absolute. Cheyenne declared this as he landed powerful punches on Joseph. Do not use your power without parental permission. Confusion spread among Joseph's friends as Cheyenne continued to deliver a brutal assault. If a parent's safety is threatened, ignore the first two principles to resolve the situation. Cheyenne referred to Hyung-ho's mom, whom he considered his own, recalling her words that Hyung-ho's friends were like her children. With a voice full of anger, Cheyenne accused Joseph of threatening his mom, unleashing relentless fury on him. Cheyenne beat Joseph mercilessly, showing no mercy. Meanwhile, at the orphanage, the nun informed the pastor of a surprising call from Korea. The pastor, intrigued, took the call. On the other end, a mysterious voice revealed, "We found the missing child, the lost legend of the dead mansion, codenamed Sean. He's in Korea." The revelation confirmed that Cheyenne, not Hyung-ho, was the original main character of the series, the true heir to the legacy of the dead mansion.